Okay, glorious day in the Highlands today. We've got a bit of a breeze, but we'll keep the midges out of the way, and we're out by one of my favourite sort of lock-ins here. We've got all the heather out as well, which you'll hopefully see when I fly this. This is the Eachine E520S. It's got GPS on it, altitude hold, HD camera, but we're going to see how it performs and how it keeps up with things. Like I say, there's a nice wind coming through, so that will check out the GPS that it is holding position well. The box, nice little carry box, so you don't need anything else. You've got everything in one little unit. The only thing you do need is with a transmitter, you do need 4 AAA batteries to actually power it up, and it doesn't come with that. Everything else it comes with. The drone itself is a little folding drone, and the grandkids call these floppy dog ears, which I think is a good name for these propellers. So they flop out of the way so it can make it into a nice little unit. HD camera that's tiltable, but you have to tilt it before you take off because you've got no change on it that you can do while you're on the actual transmitter itself, and it does actually point downwards. You can twist it all the way around. It does slightly pop it here, I'm just going to be honest here, but it does point downwards and it functions and everything. So if you want to do your gutters and things, you can point it right the way down if you like. I'm going to leave mine sort of that sort of angle, which is normal with my sort of flying. Got a couple of nice LEDs at the front there, and then there's just blue LEDs on the legs that are at the rear. So it's folding drone, like I say, clicks out into position. These are actually still movable, so they don't lock in position. The back ones lock a lot more, but there's still no pins or anything that you have to press to release, so just simply fold it out and it becomes quite a nice sized drone. It's got its proprietary battery. It's a 2-cell and it's 1200 milliamp hour, and you charge it up via a USB here, and they give you the cable to do that with. Always recommend you use the cable they provide, just in case there's any issues with any other cables. You might, if you charge it incorrectly, obviously you could ruin your battery, so always use that one. You get a couple of spare props with it as well, and a little Phillips screwdriver as well. Everything is held together with Phillips screws, so you could strip it all down if you wanted. The other thing you get in the box is some prop guards. Pop them on if you're new to flying. I definitely highly recommend those. Battery does take about, it was best part of 3 hours to charge actually, and I have had a play around with this. I've flown it with the grandkids and they've enjoyed it. It's nice and simple, like I say, altitude hold and GPS lock as well, so it's really good. You can leave the battery in because we've got an on-off switch here, so which is good. On the HD camera, this one's actually got a micro SD card slot, so I've popped that in there. If you don't pop that in, it will record it back to your phone, because that's how we're going to do the FPV. It doesn't come with a screen, so you do need your phone with you as well. But I do highly recommend, if you're new to flying, fly it without the phone. Don't worry about anything else. Just enjoy the experience of flying, and then add the FPV and do some filming as well, sort of thing. That's the way I would do it anyway. Onto the transmitter, and I really like this. A lot of the manufacturers are doing this, putting a little sort of crib sheet on your transmitter as well, which runs through everything, even to calibrate it and everything as well, which is really nice and quite good, so you don't actually need the manual with you. Mentioning the manual, let me just see where I've put them, over here. You get two manuals in about 8 different languages, and it is really good. The translations are superb, and it runs through everything that you need to know on the drone, and also goes into the app as well, so which is rather good. Let me just find the app bit there. There we go. So it goes into your app as well, and it's a nice little app. Like I say, I've had a few flights with this, playing around with it, and it flies really nicely. I actually really like the app on this one. You can control it really nicely. The transmitter is basically self-explanatory. You've got your start and stop on your video, your camera there, your orbit mode, and I'll show you that, it's really cool. And then you've got your 3 speeds as well, an emergency stop, auto takeoff, auto land, and then we've got a return to home, because it's a GPS, it actually knows where its home point was. Our calibration button here, and also headless mode on it as well. To fly, if you're really new to flying and everything, this would be quite a good one to start with actually, I would think, because it's not that expensive, and it's going to always stay in position and always come back home if you've got a bit of a problem. So give it a bit, push this up, that's the throttle, it makes it ascend and descend. Pull it down, it makes it descend obviously. Push it to the right, it rotates to the right, that's called yawing. Push it to the left, rotates to the left, that's yawing to the left. And then this one is your direction one, so push it forward and it pitches forward, backwards, pitches back, rolls to the right, rolls to the left, and these aren't points of the compass, so you can go diagonally, you can be ascending and yawing and rolling, so it starts to get a bit sort of pat your head and rub your belly, jumping on one leg, but once you actually had a couple of flights, honestly it becomes really intuitive, and it's a lovely hobby, I think. Looking at the base here, I think they've got perhaps they're going to bring out a model with an optical flow, or perhaps they've already got one out. I've been out of the game for a few months actually, so this is the first review I've done for ages. But they may well have an optical flow one, but there's certainly the facility of putting one there, which would mean you could fly indoors, holding position as well. And on to setting up the FPV, go into your phone settings and just go into your Wi-Fi setup. Mine's already logged on because I've already had to go with it before. I don't know why it's put the 2 up, because there's only the one drone here and there's literally no other Wi-Fi signals around. This doesn't use up your data, and also you don't need to be near any other Wi-Fi as you can see. It's just purely a link between these two. Going to go onto the app, which is LWFPV, and there's QR codes on the actual box itself and also in your manual as well. Simply launch into there and then press start, and we're good to go. There we are. So I don't think you could actually fly full FPV with this, like through woods or anything, because there is a bit of a delay on the camera, which is quite normal. And as you can see, the LEDs have stopped flashing, which means it's picked up enough satellites to give us a good GPS signal. So we're going to calibrate the GPS. They recommend you do that every time you fly. So I'm simply going to press this one here. The screen changes to do a rotation in X plane, and that's this plane. You can go clockwise or anti-clockwise. I've tried both and it works absolutely fine. Just rotate it in the flat plane and then it goes over to Y. You can either point it down or point it up. Again, it makes no difference whether you go clockwise or anti-clockwise. And we get another beep, and that means we're all ready to go. So what that's done is registered here as its home. So if I fly it for a while and I walk right over the other side of the glen and then press return to home, it will return to here. It won't return to here. I don't think it actually physically knows where this is, but it knows its home position. So let's start the video. And there's little LEDs underneath that are flashing all the time, as you can see. Hopefully you'll pick that up. Just in there's a little blue LED. And when we start it, we should get fast pulsing one. There we go. So now it's flashing a lot faster. Okay, and we're good to go. So we're going to prime the motor, so both sticks down and out, and then we're ready to roll. And then you can either give it a bit of throttle and it'll take off, or you can use the auto takeoff button, which is that one. Oh, the wind is quite strong, as you can probably see, and pulsing it around a bit. The antennas don't have anything running through them, so they're just fake, so they don't do anything at all. But you can leave them up if you want to look cooler with your mates and things. So there we go, so we're off and away. It's got 3 speeds, as I say, and this is in low speed. There we go. And then we increase the speed, and as you can see, GPS, as soon as I let go, it's found its position, and it should hold it there. There we go. That's where I let go of the stick. You don't get a smooth transition with small GPS models. They tend to, when you let go, they tend to really sort of pitch back up. So that's in low rates. That's into intermediate rates. And it's not going to be any sports fly, but it's just nice if you're new to flying. And then I'm going to pop that. You get beep, 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 and that's in high rates. If I press it again, it will just go down into low rates again. So I'm going to go into the wind and do a little bit of a range test. God, Bennett, that wind is actually quite strong. How are we doing for range? Distance is 50 meters. Yep. God, yeah, that's doing really well. I was playing with this earlier. I got 200 meters with it, which I was quite impressed with actually. For such a small little drone. Yeah, it's 130 meters. I'm hopefully recording the screen. Go on, Bennett. That's. I think I'm going to sort of bottle out there, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, that's just on 200 meters, so I'm just going to bring that straight back to me. And the FPV is still working there. Oh, it's just, I think it's just locked out there, but that's when I started to move it backwards. Yep, we're back on again, and that's about 100 meters. So that's at full speed with wind assisted as well. So pretty cool. Actually settled itself down. It's flying. It seems to be flying even smoother, to be honest. Let me show you this orbit mode. So I'm going to bring it around. I'm going to orbit me. But you could pick something else, the house over there, or if you wanted a tree or something, or a monument or something you could do. I'm just going to put it over me. As you can see, that wind is really pushing it around, so it's coping really well. All you do is press the orbit mode. Whoa, that wind really is... I'm just going to bring it right over me again. See whether it actually hold position over me. As you can see, those LEDs, even in bright sun, work. So I'm going to press this. It will ascend, and we can change all our settings in the settings up here, and I'll show you that in a minute. It'll fly away from us a wee bit. And then it should turn back round in a minute. There we go, she's going to turn round. And like I say, you could do this over anything. Now, to make it go one direction or the other, I'm going to make it swing to the right. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of right stick. You can do it slowly if you like, or you can actually give it a load of, if you want it to move fast, you can do that as well. Let me just get me in shot. God, look at that wind. Gee whiz, that is really struggling. You can see how far it's picked. Oh, Bennett. Thing is, the wind's coming right the way through the glen, and then it's literally using the edge of this drop here just to throw it straight up into it. And once we get around to here, it'll probably level out. There we go, you can see it leveling now. That's pretty good orbit for a very challenging condition. Now it's going to have to pitch the other way, roll the other way, sorry, to compensate for it. But there you go, it does work pretty good. I'm just going to press stop on that. Oh, we can also make it go further away if we want, or we can bring it in closer to us as well. And we can also make it ascend and descend as well, so it depends what you want to do with it. I'm going to turn that off. There we go. There we go. Oh, this wind is really strong. Really strong. You can see it pitching right in there. It's doing really well with it. We've got the return to home feature. Let's just give that a quick go. I'm just going to pop it down over there, and again, wouldn't matter how far away it was. When I've played around with this before, I've actually run the battery right out. I'm not saying I'll do that today. And when the battery gets quite low, it will return home. So it just ascends like it's doing now, and then it will literally come back to base, which is really nice, and a nice little safety feature. I wouldn't recommend you do that. You know, if I was flying a long way downwind and relying on the fact that it's going to work out how close it could, whether it could make it back to me or not, I wouldn't be doing that. I think when it gets down to about 20%, I think I'd be looking at coming home, or certainly flying very close to you, so you're not going to do any damage to your drone. Oh, and mentioning damage as well, it is a bit more rattly than when I first got it. When I was playing with it with the grandkids, somebody came up with, a dog walker came up and sort of made us jump a bit, and the granddaughter literally popped it down on the ground. So it's made a rattle since then. I don't know what she's done to it, but it actually flies fine. So, but it was sounding a bit smoother when I first got it. There we go, she's coming down now. You can see where did we take her? Oh, we were over there. So when I've played with this, it's been within a couple of feet, but actually it's a little bit further away today. My idea with the return to home is that it gets close enough that I can then take control of it. So I'm going to fly on the app now. I think we've done everything on here. So I'm just literally going to turn this one off. And then I'm going to turn the controls on for the app itself. And we've got the same controls up as we had here with our sticks. And we can alter quite a lot with the app as well. So we've got functions up here. We can fly on our the gravity mode on your phone, which is actually quite good fun. I'm just going to pop that on now. So now, if I pitch forward, I do it with my phone. So we're pitching forward, roll in right, roll in left, and you can still ascend and descend and everything. Let me just turn that off. There we go. So we can still go up, and we can still rotate, and we can still fly. So quite cool. I quite like this little thing. Didn't get it when I first got into the drones, but now I do. Yeah. God, it's altering the altimeter on it with the wind coming back and forwards. So I'm going to turn that back off, so I'm going to look down. There we go. So that's gravity mode. We can take off without the GPS on. That would make it a little bit smoother flyer. We've got all our other alterations here. We can do the maps and everything. And the actual FPV isn't that clear, but it's usable for lining up a shot. So again, everything works exactly the same as it did before. Whoops. There we go. It's just the wind is so strong, it's actually struggling against it. There we go. But it flies nicely. And it equally as good, I think, on the app as it is with the actual transmitter, to be honest. God, once you go downwind, gee whiz, it really does get a shift on. Nice precise little flyer as well. I flew it with no wind, and that's why I was waiting for a windy day to make sure the GPS worked. We got return to home on here as well. This is how we start and stop the motors. I'm also going to show you into here, and we've got maps in here that we can actually plot where we want it to go. Whoa, that wind's really struggling. It's not something I use. You literally just plot maps, plot points on the maps, and then you can go all around sort of thing. Like I say, not really one of my favourite sort of things. And we've also got the orbit mode on here, which you set up down here, set your points and everything. But again, I'm running quite low on battery, so I'm just talking a little bit anxious sort of thing. I'm getting around 15 minutes, so I'm not too sure exactly how long we've done with this one. Oh, we got about 10 minutes. Oh, there we go. Oh, we get flashing LEDs. The other thing I didn't show you, and actually this should reconnect where it's an auto bind system. There we go. Yep. We're auto bound back up again, so that's good. So I'm back on the transmitter by turning off the controls on here. It's a really nice little function. Wasn't sure it would do that, to be honest. Headless mode. Let me just quickly show you headless mode, and then we can virtually done, I think, with it. All the bells and whistles on this one. The beep 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 is meaning that we're running low on battery, and we're down to 22%. So I'm going to prop headless mode on. Now, whatever way we bound it, so we were facing through that way, weren't we, when we bound it all up, and the drone was facing that way. Forward is always away from us now, so if we come to here, though the drone is facing that way, oh, that wind is really pushing it. Even though I'm facing that way, hopefully you can see that. Let me just bring it in a bit closer. There we go. If I push it that way, it's still going forward that way. It doesn't matter what orientation the drone is in. So forward, backwards, right and left. The only thing with that is that only works in that way. If I come behind me, if I pull backwards is still going that way. So a little bit confusing if you turn around when you're in headless mode. Certainly if you turn that way, everything's all over the place. So it should really be used that way. It's not something I really play around with. I've never really found an application for it. If you're new to flying, it might help you, but I think learn to fly properly is so much better. I'm going to turn off the headless mode. Also in headless mode, you do get a beep as well. So I've got a beep that we're on low battery, and I'm also getting a beep that we're that we were in headless mode as well. Sorry. So actually, one thing I didn't do was actually take a couple of stills, which I don't think the camera's going to be up to much. Like I say, I've had to play with it, and I really don't think it's going to be all that. Oh, let's just try and there we go. Take a couple of stills. We're down to 18% now. Whoa, that wind really is strong. Look. Yeah. God, poor thing. Right. So we're down to 18%, 17%. Whoop. And that wind is really mucking up the altitude hold. Yeah. 17%. We're down to 16%. I really wouldn't recommend. Oh, there we go. I think she's, yeah, I've taken it. I'm not doing anything here. She's doing an automatic return to home. So she's going to ascend, and then she's going to try and head back. Now, again, this would be a problem because of the wind. She's now going to fight against the wind to get her back to here. So I might actually pop it out of the sky if I need to. No, she's still going. So she's definitely heading back home as best she can. Well, honestly, it cannot push against this wind because it's trying its hardest. Oh, we're down to 12% here. Oh, it's coming in. Whoa, it's that wind that's really mucking it up. And now the wind's virtually stopped. Typical Scotland. She's just coming up above our heads. And hopefully she'll drop down now. Oh, we're down to 9% on the battery. It's really low. But she has come back to the point we took off from, so I think she was going to wind up dropping out of the sky. So we've been better off where I was really low on battery to run it forwards. But hey, it's a review, so we'll put it through its paces. Oh, it's really struggled with its position. Honestly, when I've done this before, I've been within about 2 or 3 feet, but to be honest, that's absolutely fine. And you could catch it however you like. So I'm not going to let it land on the heather. Once it realises it's not going to descend anymore, either by your hand or a table or whatever, or the ground, then it will kill the motors. God, look at that, it really is low on battery there, but it did very well to get back against this wind. Okay, so I'm back home now and I've correctly formatted the card. I didn't realise I put in a corrupt card, and it works fine. As you can see, I've pointed the camera angle right down so you can see it right above the house. And as you can see, it's quite domed, so it's got gives a great sort of curve on it, so it's quite distorted. And the quality is the quality of what it is, I'm afraid. I think it's sort of quite low on the 1080p range. But only you can decide that. And also it's a budget price drone with GPS on it and everything else, so you know, you have to weigh all these things in as well. Perhaps the 4K one is a lot better, but it does have a record of it, and it does some nice little features on it as well, so it's rather good. When you record it on the micro SD card, it's 1920 by 1080p at 25 frames a second. If you don't have a card in there and you record it back to your phone, it's 1280 by 720, and that's at 20 frames a second. And this footage I'm going to run now will show you what it does. It also drops frames when it's going round, but again, it is just sort of a record of your flight, really, I would say. But it's never going to be brilliant on a 5G Wi-Fi feeding it back. Certainly not at this level of drone, I don't think. I was getting between 13 and 15 minutes flight, and like I say, it takes best part of 3 hours to charge up the battery, but you can part charge it. Obviously, it's they're lipos, so they're pretty good at that sort of thing, and no issues at all. Or obviously, if you get the one with 3 batteries, then that's going to be really good because you're going to have loads of flying time, sort of thing. Had no real issues with it at all, but I have bashed it a couple of times, and the granddaughter told me off for blaming her because she thought it was me that caused the problem when we brought it down when we were out, and the dog walker came across us, so I might have been caught out there, I'm afraid. Kids, they drop you right in it, don't they? Anyway, there we go. So that's everything on it. Hope you've enjoyed the review, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one in the near future.